War brings out the worst in men, but it also brings out the best. Today's lesson is a story about what happened in February of 1943 in the North Atlantic, when 4 brave chaplains died together after saving many other men. But this story really begins hundreds of years before in Europe, when religious wars were fought back and forth between Catholics and Protestants, and many died. Here is a painting of St. Bartholomew's Day massacre in France in 1572, where Catholics killed 5,000 to 30,000 French Huguenots, or French Protestants. In England, fighting erupted over things like whether adults or children should be baptized, or whether hymns can be sung in church, or only psalms. One of my favorite quotes is this: "It would be almost unbelievable if history did not record the tragic fact that men have gone to war and cut each other's throats because they could not agree as to what was to become of them after their throats were cut." Mankind's history is a history of little religious tolerance. Even in the Soviet Union, for many years, atheism was the only belief system tolerated. All others were persecuted. One of the first things Europeans who settled in America had to figure out was what to do about religious differences. I would like to tell you that it was our inherent virtue that made us decide on embracing religious tolerance, as embodied in many of our laws. But that would be untrue. The fact is that no one religion had enough power to impose itself on others. We were simply too fragmented. So we took the only course available. We decided to tolerate one another and leave all the foolish European religious wars behind. Over the course of the next 2 centuries, American attitudes evolved to something much more than just toleration, as we shall see in that terrible tragedy at sea in 1943. The Dorchester was a civilian cruise ship before the war, which could carry about 350 people comfortably. It was converted into a troop transport and carried 904 men from New York en route to Greenland in January of 1943. 4 chaplains were on board to lift the morale of the soldiers on this hazardous trip. Who were these 4 chaplains? One was George Fox, a Methodist minister and a highly decorated soldier in World War I, where he fought in France. Another was Alexander Good, a rabbi who studied at Hebrew Union College and in 1940 obtained a PhD from Johns Hopkins University. Another was Clark Poling, a graduate of Yale University's Divinity School and ordained in the Reformed Church in America. The 4th chaplain was Father John Washington, a Roman Catholic priest who had served the parish at St. Genevieve's in Elizabeth, New Jersey, since 1935. They were all commissioned as first lieutenants. These 4 men grew to be great friends at the Army Chaplain School at Harvard and were delighted when they were assigned together on the Dorchester. They were all musical, and during the first days at sea they would join in leading singing and organized and even starred in a variety show aboard ship. During the grueling and dangerous journey, they would lead services at different places, and many men would circulate to hear each chaplain preach. These men of different faiths showed tremendous respect, affection, and love for one another, working as a team to lift the spirits of the 900 men on board. All that would be tested on February 3rd at 1 a.m. The Dorchester was in rough seas. Imagine the sound of the ship at sea. A German torpedo was unleashed and soon found its mark. In only 18 minutes, the Dorchester would go down. The torpedo knocked out the ship's electrical system, leaving it dark. It blew a large hole, instantly killing 100 men. Panic set in among the remaining men on board, many of them trapped below decks. The chaplain sought to calm the men and organized an orderly evacuation of the ship and helped guide wounded men to safety. As life jackets were passed out. The supply ran out before each man had one. The chaplains removed their own life jackets and gave them to others. They helped as many men as they could into lifeboats and then linked arms and, saying prayers and singing hymns, went down with the ship. Their lives shine like a beacon on a night of terror. One survivor said, "As I swam away from the ship, I looked back. The flares had lighted everything. The bow came up high and she slid under. The last thing I saw, the four chaplains were up there praying for the safety of the men. They had done everything they could. I did not see them again. They themselves did not have a chance without their life jackets." According to some reports, survivors could hear different languages mixed in the prayers of the chaplains, including Jewish prayers in Hebrew and Catholic prayers in Latin. Only 230 of the 904 men aboard this ship were rescued. Life jackets offered little protection from hypothermia, which killed most men in the water. The water temperature was 34 degrees Fahrenheit, and the air temperature was 36 degrees. By the time additional rescue ships arrived, hundreds of dead bodies were seen floating on the water, kept up by their life jackets. How did these chaplains face a certain death? Father Washington did not ask a young soldier if he was Catholic when he handed him his life jacket. Rabbi Good did not try to find a Jewish soldier for his life jacket. The way they lived and the way they died showed how far Americans had traveled from those European religious wars. In 1948, a stamp was commissioned in honor of the chaplains. It said, "These immortal chaplains, interfaith in action." The story of the four chaplains is celebrated in film. Here is the movie poster behind me. In books such as No Greater Glory by Dan Kurtzman, it's celebrated in music and in art. A number of chapels have been dedicated to the four chaplains. Here is one stained glass window from one of these chapels. Here is another, and another. These are terrific works of art. Here is a mural at the University of Cincinnati. The four chaplains are at the top of the mural, the four without life vests, having given them to others. They even had a comic book featuring these four chaplains on its cover. When we see the killings in the Middle East as Sunnis kill Shiites and Shiites kill Sunnis, when we see the terrific persecution all around the world of religious minorities, it would seem the four chaplains stand as a model not only to America, but to the whole world. The four chaplains reflect a theme I have repeated many times. The four chaplains is not a story of extraordinary people, but of ordinary people who did extraordinary things.